Hi, welcome to another On the Sunny Side of the Street. I'm your host, Todd Gross, a clinical psychologist and director of Adams Street Associates in Newton. And our show, On the Sunny Side of the Street, likes to look at the side of human nature that you don't often hear talked about in the media. And that is the positive side, the side of people who are willing to help other people, people who really overcome odds, inspirational stories. And today is no exception to that aspect of the sunny side of the street. We have a guest that started an organization called Choose to Be Nice. As you'll find out, a very simple phrase, but a very profound meaning. So I'm very glad to welcome for you to talk with Dina Krieger from Needham. How are you, Dina?
Good, Todd. How are you?
Very good, and thank you for coming. I'm really glad you're here. I would love you to tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got started with the organization called Choose to Be Nice.
Sure. I live in Needham with my family. I have a son who's in high school. He's a sophomore currently, just turned 16, just got his driver's permit, so we have a lot of excitement going on in the house right now. I started Choose to Be Nice for many, many reasons. I think one of the biggest reasons is I was bullied as a kid, and it never went away, and it was something that's always been with me, not bothering me in any profound way, but something that I never really forgot.
Very important.
And I think over the last couple of years, we've heard so much more about bullying and what's going on in the schools, and and kids that are finding no way out. And I think as a mom, it was really starting to affect me, hearing about all these stories in the media about what was going on with these kids.
Very important reason.
So, I started thinking about how different it is now. When I was bullied as a kid, I got some reprieve when I went home. I got some reprieve at school.
Yes.
Nowadays, there's really no reprieve with social media. It's really, these kids are getting buried in it 24 hours a day. So I think that was an important piece. Another important piece was just a lot of meanness that I was seeing going on in the workplace.
Yes.
And, I think those things combined with the fact that it was very important to always teach my son about kindness, I just decided one day that it was time to make the world a nicer place.
One of the things I love about what you're saying so far, Dina, is that you take an issue that is really negative, which is the horrible, often long-term effects of bullying on people's self-confidence and their feelings and their emotions and memories. And you say, not just don't do that, you also are saying, what's the alternative to being a bully? And it is to learn how to be nice.
Sure.
So I love taking the opposite of a negative and really using it as a part of the healing of something that's negative. Give me a little bit more about your philosophy about this group, what the main idea is.
Yeah, it's one of the things when you talk about positivity is one of the things that I really wanted to make sure that I did was, in addition to simplicity, it was very important for me that this be positive. There's a lot of wonderful organizations out there that get called in sort of after the fact. I want to be more proactive. I want to be positive. I want to be simple. And, maybe we can avoid some of these negative behaviors in the first place.
Yeah.
Preventative, exactly. So what I'm finding that teachers and principals really like about Choose to Be Nice is the fact that it is so simple and it's very proactive. And it's really reminding people that they have a choice about how to be in the world. And that's what Choose to Be Nice is all about. And really, at the heart of Choose to Be Nice is a promise. And it took me a long time to come up with this promise versus a pledge. For me, a promise felt more personal.
Yes.
So there's a promise on our website that we ask people to sign. And it really says, I promise to help spread kindness whenever and wherever possible, and to the very best of my ability, I'll be nice to those with whom I come into contact on a daily basis.
I love that. That's great. Yeah.
We try to build in a little bit of, to the very best of my ability, so we don't have perfection in there.
Exactly.
And make it something that people feel comfortable making that promise to themselves. So people go on our website, they make this Choose to Be Nice promise, and of course we hope that they fulfill that and live up to that on a daily basis.
That's a very strong foundation to start with, and I know you've taken it further. There's a lot of different activities. There's products. You're wearing one of them. We have one over here. Maybe the audience will be able to see that at some point down below there. Choose to Be Nice. But basically, I'd like, if you could, to tell the audience a little bit about some of the involvement with people in addition to that contract that people sign.
Sure. So when I first started, I really had no idea how I was going to get this message out there. I just knew that I had to get it out there. It was a critical message. It was timely, and somehow I had to get it out there. And so I first started going to community events, set up tables, put up banners, and sold T-shirts. Frankly, that was the main way we got out there. I wanted to see would this message resonate with people?
Yes.
Would somebody wear a T-shirt that says "Choose to be nice" on it? And what we found by going to these events was not only did they love the message and they loved the apparel, but people would tell me their stories. It was a haven for storytelling. You know, people just wanted to share what they did to be nice that day, or what someone did to them to be nice that day. And what I find at these events, which is what I find honestly when I wear a Choose to be Nice T-shirt or a Choose to be Nice sweatshirt, is that it's this two-way street of communication. You know, one of the things that's really important to me is that we improve the way people interact with each other with Choose to be Nice. So when I wear a T-shirt that says Choose to be Nice, I'm held to a higher standard of behavior. And when somebody speaks with me, or when somebody engages with me or talks to me, I find that they slow down a little bit, they're much calmer, they're nicer, and they're more engaging. And it's very simple, but that's what happens when people engage with one another. So we're hoping that we can kind of take that on a national and international scale and really improve the way people interact with one another.
I love it. You've done some work, I saw on the website some things about the Nice Person of the Month, or also the Nice School of the Month. And
Yes.
I wanted to hear a little bit about that. I love that kind of approach.
Sure. So the Nice Person of the Month is really simple. It's wonderful. People go on our website and they can nominate who they feel is a nice person.
I see.
And they fill in the blanks. Who is this person? Why are they wonderful, and why should they be recognized? And we pick one each month to win a free T-shirt. And it's amazing. You know, when we first put this out there, we thought, geez, will anyone nominate somebody? Well, we get overwhelmed every month with nominations.
That's a good sign.
It is. It's a very good sign. And it's very hard to choose because everybody sounds more terrific than the next.
I bet.
But we do. We choose.
Yeah.
And people get very excited, not only that they're recognized, but they get a free T-shirt. So we will be doing a lot more things like that in the future as well. And then you mentioned schools. We're doing a lot of work with schools. It's a great message to get to these kids. We do fundraisers with schools. We do Choose to be Nice clubs with schools. We have a large banner that all the kids can sign. It gets hung up in the lobby that has the Choose to be Nice promise on it. So when people walk in the door, they know what's important at that school.
Yes.
So we're developing lots of different programming that we'll be doing at the schools, and it's been very well received so far.
What's so interesting about what you're saying, Dina, is I think about the fact that so many times people who are very nice to people on a regular basis, that's their main mode of interacting, there is often not much appreciation. There isn't a lot of attention given to them. If they did something awful, then the media would grab it. But if they do something, you know, just every day that's a simple kindness, people don't notice that. And you're doing that with your organization. You're reminding me of a long time ago when I worked in another town on the South Shore. One of the principals in the high school established a policy that once a week he would call a parent of someone he saw doing something nice around the building. Like somebody dropped books, he picked it up, or she picked it up for the person. And how many times do parents get calls saying, you know, I want to tell you something really nice about your kid?
Right. Very rarely.
So that's why I love your concept.
Yeah, it's terrific. And a lot of what we're doing with the schools is we're trying to get these kids recognized for different things that they do. We have stickers. We're going to be creating decks of cards. We're going to be doing that can be passed along to others. So do this act of kindness in your community and then pass that along for someone else to do. One of the neat things about the Choose to be Nice clubs that we're starting in the high schools is that it incorporates community service, which is a really important piece for me.
Tell me about
we have
that. That's interesting.
Sure. So Choose to be Nice clubs are, at least in high school and middle school, it's a way for kids to get out in the community and do community service. And a lot of these high school kids need community service requirements. So what they do is they'll go out once a month, and maybe January they'll go to the senior center. February they'll clean up a park. March they'll go to the food pantry. So it's a way to teach these kids that as a way of life, not just once in a while around the holidays, but as a way of life, community service should be incorporated in everything that you do. And another piece of the Choose to Be Nice clubs is that there'll be random acts of niceness that go on around the community. So brought to you by the Needham High Choose to Be Nice Club, for example, we'll be doing a car wash on Saturday afternoon. Come get your car washed.
Okay.
The Choose to Be Nice Club will be out shoveling driveways in December. They might go and station themselves at a retail store for an hour and hold the door open as people come in and give them little cards from the Choose to Be Nice Club. So it's really a great way for these kids to not only get leadership quality and also contribute to their communities, but to have something positive for college. You know, my son's all excited about doing the Choose to Be Nice Club at Needham High because he knows it'll help fulfill his requirements, and it's a nice thing to do. It's really
Add
nice
to that,
thing to do.
I mean, all that is true. Add to that, I'd love to hear your comments on this too, the effect on the people who are doing these nice acts, these community services, on their self-esteem, how they view themselves as a person because of seeing what they are doing.
Sure. I think, you know, the whole idea of Choose to Be Nice is to remind people that they have a choice. And I want to empower these kids. I want them to know that it's powerful to be able to make a choice. And in turn, that's going to make you feel good. It feels good to make a choice that affects someone else in a positive way. And I think even if they don't realize it or recognize it at the beginning, once they get involved with doing regular acts of kindness, once they get involved in doing regular acts of community service, it's going to be infectious. They're going to see how exciting it makes other people and how good they make other people feel. And I think that's, you know, a huge motivating factor to keep going.
It makes a lot of sense.
Sure.
I'd love to hear some, just from the time you've been involved, a couple examples of situations that really reached you, touched your heart to see in terms of this. And also maybe I have the sense that there's a contagion effect too that happens with this. I would love to hear your comments on that.
Well, you know, every day something exciting happens, and it can be as small as getting an email from somebody saying, I saw you at the Massachusetts Women's Conference and I was really moved and touched and would love to get together for a cup of coffee and talk more about it, to a young woman that I met at a community fair in Chatham over the summer. She had come up to our booth at the very end of a long day. We were all packed up, and she asked me how much the shirts were, and she said she was going to come back the next day and get one. She did come back the next day, and she only had about $11 in her pocket. I said, I'd be happy to give you a shirt for $11. They were $20. And she said, no, let me go home and get more. She came back. She had scraped together another $3. And she actually made me a couple of bookmarks that had some very inspiring words on them, along with a rope bracelet. And she gave them to me and said, you know, will this do? And I said, of course, and I gave her the T-shirt. And a woman behind me actually heard this whole exchange going on and offered to give the rest of the money for her shirt. So something like that is really Choose to Be Nice in action. And, you know, those types of things happen all the time. And it was very touching, and, you know, it was very emotional.
I love that. A quick story parallel to yours.
Sure.
When I was doing youth work in Weymouth, we got together seniors that were retired and used their skills to teach middle schoolers the skills that they would like to learn from a grandparent-like figure. So the TV station, WBZ, had asked, have you got a good local positive story? So I said, yes, we've got a story. So we put them on TV. It was a snowstorm. And when the TV cameras were coming up the hill to this house, this old lady's house, the kids were having a snowball fight because they were in the snow and it was a big storm. And they did the interview, everything was great, and the woman called me the next day and she said, you won't believe what happened. And I said, what could be better than what you already did with this wonderful relationship, teaching this child how to sew, her prom dress and everything. She said, one of the kids that was playing in the snow outside our house they had cameramen had said, watch the 6 o'clock news, you'll see yourself throwing snowballs. So the kids watched the news. This kid came up to the door and said to the woman, we we just saw you on TV and what you're doing with this girl, and because it's so nice what you're doing, we want to shovel your walk for the whole winter.
Oh, wow.
That the same thing you're saying.
Sure.
Other people see something nice, it catches
Sure.
on.
It really does. And I think that when people slow down a little bit and
Yeah.
realize we live in such a fast-paced world, and I think a lot of what's behind Choose to Be Nice is really just saying, slow down, think about how you're interacting with one another, and think about how we can do it on a more positive way, a more respectful way. A lot of a lot of the way we interact with each other seems to have become more negative, and we're trying to really change that around and become more positive.
I like your idea too of take the time for a second to think about what you're saying, how you're saying it, and am I really trying to be as nice as I can about
Sure.
it? I think about the implications, and I would like to hear your comments on this. You said that you came from the business world. How would it be if people did this more in the business world? I hear a lot of people that work in corporations, that is not usually the center of humanity.
Sure,
You know,
sure.
But what would it be like, and how successful can a business be if they do this? And the second, even bigger, is the implication of what if countries did this with each other too?
Wonderful questions. In terms of the workforce,
Yeah.
I've been in the workforce for a long time, and I've seen the good, the bad, and the ugly.
That's why I thought your comments would be really interesting, yes.
I've seen it all, and I've always believed that you can never be too nice in the workforce. I think there's a way to be positive, encouraging, nice, be a leader, and not get walked all over and stepped all over, and still command respect. So what I've always taught people, I think my sales and business development background has always helped me with this. For me, whether it's in my personal life or my professional life, it's about two people or two groups of people or two organizations just trying to come together to create some sort of interaction. And the more positive that we can make that, and the more that we can realize that both parties have a stake in this, and if we both can come out on top, that might be the best situation for both people. And I always found out, the hard way, that when that doesn't happen, it's ripe for stress in the organization. People aren't happy, and I think you can be a leader, and I think that you can treat people a lot nicer in the workforce and not get stepped on. And there's plenty that we'd like to change in the organizations
Sure.
of the world. And I think at some point, not necessarily in 2015, but at some point we'd like to get to where there's a piece of Choose to Be Nice that goes into corporate America.
It's great. I mean, I was thinking of the recent example of the Demoulas situation with the market,
Yes.
and how he treated his employees, and how their loyalty stood quite a test.
Sure.
And actually, the nice force won out.
Yes, I was so pleased.
Me too.
I was
didn't
very pleased
expect
to
it,
see that, right?
But I was delighted.
Well, I think a lot of it comes down to human nature. It really does. We react in certain ways, and part of my job is to look at interactions between and among people, and I'm constantly sort of rewriting those interactions when I witness them between people, whether it's road rage, whether it's two people in a company, whether it's something on the news and people just chatting with one another. I constantly find myself sort of rewriting that entire interaction.
Yes.
Say, you know what, if this is what you heard, but if you reacted this way, then maybe that person would have reacted a different way and we'd have a different outcome. So I think a lot of it's really about just slowing down and thinking about what's the best outcome for both parties.
You've probably had some interactions in your life where you saw that how you said things and how you kept in mind taking a breath, taking your time, and finding a nice, maybe assertive but nice way to say something made a difference.
Sure.
Have you had some of those?
Many, many times. It's not easy. I'm certainly not perfect. I find myself having to remind myself many times.
Absolutely, sure.
It's the world that we live in now. It's very fast-paced. We've got emails to answer, text messages to answer, phone calls to answer.
Good point, yeah.
There's so many things going on. It's no wonder we can all keep it straight. But sometimes I have to really think about slowing down and how could I have a better response to this situation that will allow us to move forward instead of escalating or getting personal. And I think if a lot more people would think that way, we might have better interactions among
I do
groups of
too.
people, among companies, among individuals, among families. I'm certainly not a psychologist, but I've been around long enough to know that if we speak with one another in a kind way, in a respectful way, empathetic way, then I think we get a lot further with one another.
Well, Eve, speaking as a psychologist, I think you're right on. And secondly, working with a lot of people who have gone through different kinds of trauma, one of the elements that's so basic to working with people and building trust is for them to feel like you're safe, you're kind, you're respectful of their timing to talk about things. It's still the same principles that you're talking about that I think are at the core of when somebody is able to use safely any kind of intervention like therapy or something like that too.
Interesting.
So it has a lot of implications. I wanted to give you a chance to talk a little bit to the people that are listening to the show and hopefully really, saying this is a very positive thing. I might like to be involved.
Sure.
Do you have volunteers, and what kind of roles do they play? And what would you say to people if they're listening, and maybe even how to contact you too?
Sure. Certainly, I can use. I say to myself, I need so much help. I don't know where to start. We're looking to start an ambassador program. So we're looking to find folks that want to scream "Choose to be nice" from the rooftops. That have a wide organization of friends and colleagues, and they're probably on social media way too much. These are the people that we want. That have some connections with schools and. Really folks that want to help us spread the Choose to be Nice message in their own communities, and also that want to help us spread the message within schools in their communities. So I'm looking to get a group of folks together that can help us sort of expand the message, get their friends to sign the Choose to be Nice promise on our website. We'll be launching the 100,000 Promises campaign soon, so we'll need some help with that as well. And
say something about that a little bit, what that is?
Sure. We have this crazy idea to get 1 million Choose to be Nice promises by 2020 on our website. And to start out, we'd like to start the 100,000 Promises campaign in the Boston area. So we will be looking to find different ways to get that message out and to get people going to our website. And so we're going to need people to help us spread the message and to recruit others to go make the Choose to be Nice promise as well.
What a great idea.
Right. So we'll be asking superintendents to make the Choose to be Nice promise. We'll be asking our local politicians to make the Choose to be Nice promise. We'll be asking our police force to make the Choose to be Nice promise, etc.
Wow.
So a lot of people that can make an impact in our communities and also set an example for our young people.
Wow. So that's you're going at it all different levels, and I think that's the way it has to be if it's going to really have the impact. And the website is choosetobenice.com?
Correct, choosetobenice.com.
Okay.
Sure. You can buy merchandise there. You can make the Choose to be Nice promise there. You can sign up for our newsletter. You can nominate a nice person. You can share your stories. There's lots that you can do there.
A lot of ways to be involved.
Yes, and that'll be evolving as well.
Okay.
Sure.
What would you say are the toughest challenges for you in trying to do something that I think is so wonderful?
Sure. Great question. Lots of challenges. I think just being an entrepreneur in general is challenges.
Sure.
One of the things that I've really discovered is I tend to be a bit of a perfectionist. So one of the challenges is to continue to move forward even if you feel like something's not quite perfect yet. Because, I think that if you wait till something's perfect, you're going to miss an opportunity or it's not going to happen. So we keep moving forward, keep moving forward, and keep moving forward. And if we make a mistake, we correct it. Also challenging is how we're going to grow and scale and make this a national movement and hopefully an international movement. So there's challenges there that we're working on. And I think, overall, it's a challenge to get somebody to stop and think about how they want to be in the world. And, do they want to make this choice to be a nicer person out there in the world? And that's a challenge. Sometimes it's a lot easier just to mow on over somebody and, not necessarily think. And, so that's a challenge in and of itself.
One of the things that you're teaching me, Dina, with what you just said, is there's also a connection between choosing to be nice to other people and choosing to be nice to yourself.
Yes.
When you talk about perfectionism and stuff like that, when you are sort of saying to yourself, I could have done this better, or this could have gone much smoother, or it didn't go exactly, but I am trying my best and I'm doing this. You're being nice to yourself, and also when you put that attitude out to other people, you're modeling the notion of being nice to yourself. And I find a lot of times in therapy, one of the things I'm working on so that people will be nice to others is that they also give themselves a break.
Sure, sure. It's interesting that you say that, because every time I'm at a booth selling merchandise and we're out there in the community, we have lots of families that come up to us and want to know everything about Choose to Be Nice. And I always ask the kids, and you know, I ask them to make the promise. I have them read it if they're old enough to read it, or I read it to them, ask them what they think about it, and then I ask them, I say, who are you going to be nice to? And they give me a whole list of people. And then I said, who else are you going to be nice to? And they look at me, they don't know what I'm talking about, and they list all these other people. And I say, I finally say, and I point to them, and I say, to you. You need to be nice to you as well. So I try to remember that. Yeah, so I try to remind them that it's important that they're nice to themselves as well.
Do you enjoy working with the kids too?
I love working with the kids. I think in my former life I was a teacher or a principal, or you know, I was very involved in my son's school when he was in elementary school, and it was the best job I never got paid for, is what I like to say.
It's probably really had an impact on your son too, I would think. The fact that this is what he sees his mom is doing.
Yes, he loves it. He's, you know, very excited about Choose to Be Nice. He's excited to be involved in it. He's excited that it's a family business.
Yes.
So I think it's had a huge impact on him, and of course he loves all the free gear he gets.
All those T-shirts.
All those T-shirts. You know, I just have to keep reminding him to let me know when he takes something so I can take care of inventory.
Oh God, I love it. Well, this is, you know, I think I want to commend you too, because I think you're a great model for him in terms of what you're doing.
Sure.
And as I said before, this is another one of those interventions that affects the individual to themselves, how they relate to other people, how they relate to groups, and then how we relate as a society to other societies, all levels. So I wish you really well in this endeavor, and I really thank you so much for coming and talking with us.
Sure, thanks for having me.
It was a pleasure, and I want to thank all of you for watching, and I hope you'll tune in again for another On the Sunny Side of the Street real soon. Take care, everybody, and thanks for watching. Bye-bye. You did it.
Oh,
and
dear.
You were